8:07 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. We are pleased to be joined on the line now by former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, a man who ran for the Republican nomination. And he's out there, as he always is, with new ideas. Mr. Speaker, good to have you. Appreciate you joining us.
It's great to be back with you. And it just strikes me we're a country that could use a lot of new ideas. And all you have to be is a citizen. You don't have to be a candidate in order to be part of the process.
Well, you've got a new eBook out, and the title of it is No Taxation by Misrepresentation, Rejecting the Dishonest Obamacare Tax. Let's talk a little bit about what your thesis is in this eBook.
Well, I was frankly compelled to write it as a little booklet like that, and we have a 5-minute video that you can also get that just shows you in their own words how systematically dishonest the Obama team was about the Obamacare tax. And what moved me to write it was immediately after the Supreme Court said Obamacare is only constitutional if you rely on the Congress's taxing power, and therefore, since this is a tax, it's constitutional. If it was a penalty, it would be unconstitutional. Very clear ruling by the court. Within minutes, the White House began saying, oh, this is not a tax, it's a penalty. Well, when you look at it for a minute, it is the most flagrant, systematic act of dishonesty I can remember. The president's own lawyers went to the Supreme Court, and we actually have their voices in our video about this, and we quote them at length in the book. And they went to the Supreme Court, and they spent 11 pages arguing this is a tax. Therefore, it's constitutional. Now, that was the president's own lawyers. As soon as they win the case based on it being a tax, the president pivots and says, well, of course, it's not really a tax. And I just think when the American people, there are 2 points to the book. The first is, not only is Obamacare a bad idea in terms of bureaucracy and centralized government, but it is, in fact, a gigantic tax increase. That's what the court ruled. That's what the facts are. And second, this is an administration whose only method of survival is dishonesty, and that's why I described it as no taxation by misrepresentation, because systematic dishonesty undermines the very framework within which we have a free society.
Can you imagine this passing the House and Senate if it had been accurately described as a tax?
Oh, of course not, and he knows that. And he also knows, we opened both the book and the video with him in 2008 saying, I promise you nobody earning less than $250,000 will have an increase in their taxes. And he goes through capital gains tax, income tax, whatever. No increase in your taxes. Then you have him on Stephanopoulos in this long dialogue, which we have in the video and which we quote at length in the book, saying to George, it's not a tax, George. Stephanopoulos finally introduced to reading from the dictionary, at which point the president says, see, you have to read from the dictionary. It's clear you're stretching. Well, a few weeks later, the president's lawyers went in, and literally for 11 pages in their brief to the Supreme Court, they explain why this is a tax, and therefore it's constitutional. Now, that is just, it's as if Richard Nixon had said, what break him? when asked about Watergate.
But at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, does it really make a difference if it's a tax or penalty, because it's the law of the land right now?
Well, it makes a huge difference, first of all, in terms of having a debate about it, because people inherently understand in an economy this week with a president who has the worst job creation record since the Great Depression. Nobody who's under 72 years of age has lived in the United States with this level of unemployment in their lifetime. So I think with that kind of a record, if you said to the average American, do you really think we need a big tax increase in the middle of 8% plus unemployment, they would think you were crazy. They say, of course you don't. So I think it further weakens those who want to preserve the bill. And as Justice Roberts said, the American people want to get rid of Obamacare. They have a method. It's called an election.
Right. Did you think it was the right ruling from from the Chief Justice John Roberts?
Well, I think it was a dangerous ruling because what people want out of the law is certainty. They want a sense that what the rule of law means in part is that there's a set of objective rules that I can go to, I can read them, my attorney can advise me, and I have confidence that's what will happen. For Justice Roberts to vote with 4 liberals against the 4 conservatives really leads people to believe that it's no way of knowing what the principles are that will be applied the next time there's a case. And I think that really undermines the concept of the rule of law.
Let me turn to the presidential election. I know when you ran as a Republican nominee against Mitt Romney, and there were a lot of attack ads and negative ads, especially in Florida, there are some people, some conservatives, who don't think that Mitt Romney is being tough enough on the president. They want him to take off the gloves. Do you think that Mitt Romney is being aggressive enough right now against President Obama?
Well, based on all the polling data, he is more than holding his own. And I think in that sense that if anything, the president is starting to lose one of his greatest advantages because he is attacking so much. His ads are so negative that there is a steady increase in the number of people who think that they don't like him. So if you watch the last month or so, the president's likability factor has gone down very substantially.
Right.
And I think what Romney's counting on is there's a long way to the election. I have zero doubt that when they get to the point they need to take the gloves off, having lived through it with him, I'm confident that they will be able to take the gloves off on the president. But I also think they're hurting him pretty badly. I think this whole I built a campaign that they've taken advantage of one of the president's biggest psychological mistakes when he said, if you're successful, you didn't achieve it. It wasn't your work. I mean, this just got to the very core of people.
I was a reporter back in the days when you and President Clinton came together and passed welfare reform. It is what many people believe to be the signature achievement, perhaps, of the Clinton administration, and I know that you were very proud of those accomplishments as well. Yet the White House has apparently undone some of the major provisions of welfare reform as we know it today, and this is a sort of a pattern that we see where the Obama administration, through executive order, through the way they interpret rules, by a whole host of methods that they have at their disposal, seems to choose those portions of law that they like and those portions of law that they dislike. They enforce the ones they like. They don't enforce the ones they dislike.
Well, you, of course, just put your finger on two of the more troubling aspects of the Obama administration. The first is that they have undermined, with one regulation on one morning, they have undermined what was the biggest bipartisan achievement of the 1990s. I mean, we spent several years in very tough negotiations with President Clinton. We achieved a very substantial bipartisan breakthrough. 70% of the people on welfare either went to work or went to school. There's a general agreement it was better for the poor. They had a better future. They had a better chance of earning a living. They had a better chance of taking care of their family. It works. Work in terms of, in fact, is a good thing. And this was a celebration of work. So they showed you their values, which is to favor welfare over work. But as you point out, it's worse than that. They also showed you this is a president who doesn't believe in the Constitution. He believes that he gets to rewrite the law. He did it earlier on immigration. He's done it, I think, on religious liberty. He simply, if he wants to, he just changes everything by executive order. That's clearly unconstitutional and a violation of the very process by which we've governed ourselves.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's always good to have you here on the show. I wish we had more time with you, but thank you for joining us here on WMAL.
Glad to be with you. Take care.
Former Speaker of the House,